With me today are the GNSO Chair Heather Forrest, Council Vice Chair Donna Austin, and former GNSO Chair James Bladell. They are the GNSO Council leadership for the main duration of ICANN60. So welcome. Heather, we know that much of the work of a GNSO this week is focusing on the three major PDPs, namely the next generation GTLD registration directory service to replace WHOIS, the new GTLD subsequent procedures, and the review of all rights protection mechanisms in all GTLDs. So how much work has been accomplished for these PDPs?
Ariel, I'll start by thanking you for naming all of those PDPs in full and saving me from having to do that. Of course, it's very, very hard to summarize in only a few words the considerable effort that's been put into those three policy development processes in the course of the week here. But I'll do my best and give a highlight, and I think you'll see that there are some themes, some common themes that come through. In terms of registration directory services, what we tend to refer to as RDS, what we're seeing there is that the group has spent some time this week understanding a number of use cases, and they're doing that with a view towards having a better understanding of purpose of RDS, and I think that would be very useful to them. In terms of rights protection mechanisms, which we often refer to as RPMs, we're seeing that group transition into an analysis of the Uniform Rapid Suspension Mechanism, or URS, and starting this week they are soliciting the experiences of the PDP working group members and the broader community with that mechanism, which was newly introduced in 2012 with new GTLDs applied for then. And finally, in subsequent procedures, look, I think we're seeing there some very significant developments that Donna will also speak to in the formation of a new work track that we envisaged happening when we were all last together in Johannesburg. So we've made significant progress in that regard, both between Johannesburg and now, and then here this week. In addition, what we have by way of progress in that PDP is quite significant. We have the completion of the review of Community Comment 2 comments. We have that group shifting into drafting its preliminary report, which is quite a significant task. And we're also seeing something that would be of interest for those who are interested in applying in future new GTLD processes, a timeline for that process. And what we have from that group is an anticipation of completion of a preliminary report in relation to work tracks 1, 2, 3, and 4 by April 2018. That would go out to public comment, with public comment envisaged to end around the 1st of June 2018, and then that process would continue for work track 5. And with that, I think we can speak a bit more about work track 5 and what that is.
Thank you very much, Heather, for that overview. So, Donna, we know the work track 5 is focused on the geographic top-level domains, and to encourage cross-community involvement, there's this shared leadership model among the ALAC, the CCNSO, the GAC, and the GNSO, and also a call for volunteers was sent out before ICANN60. Did the work track 5 meet in this meeting? Is there any update on the work plans?
Yeah, thanks, Ariel. So the group did meet at this meeting. I think it was 3 hours yesterday. I think it was a really good session. There was some good level setting and getting an understanding of how the different groups can interact together. This is a little bit of a challenge because we're doing it under the GNSO process of the PDP, so it's a little bit foreign to certainly how the GAC does its business and the CCNSO does its business. We probably have a little bit more interaction of the ALAC within our PDP, so maybe not so bad for them. But I think the level setting was good, and I think there's good collaboration that we saw around the table. The first kind of order of business is developing a terms of reference for this group. So some interesting conversation yesterday about, really what is geographic names and what will be within scope or out of scope. So I expect that might become a bit of a challenging conversation, but hopefully we can find the path forward. And so I believe there will be a concentrated effort moving forward to, make some good progress on that before we get to Puerto Rico.
Thank you very much, Donna. So James, the GNSO have met with the GAC, the CCNSO, and the ICANN board in ICANN60. Is there any highlight that you'd like to share?
Sure. Well, thanks, Ariel. If you had told me this time last week that I wouldn't be talking so much about GDPR at this meeting, I probably would have thought that was silly. But in fact, with each of those sessions, we spent a lot of time discussing the board's decision to pause one of the review teams, and that's the Security and Stability Review Team, Resiliency Review Team, SSR2. The more we talked to folks, the more we started to hear different perspectives that this perhaps review team is off course and needed to be gotten back on track, or that the board has perhaps inappropriately intervened in an accountability mechanism, a fundamental accountability mechanism, and it's possible that both of those narratives are true. We're trying to figure that out and work through that with the community. I think that's going to fall to Heather and to Donna to work with the chairs of the other SOs and ACs to get that work restarted as quickly as possible. And of course, in addition to my last meeting as chair, it was also an opportunity for us to say goodbye to Dr. Crocker, who is stepping down from the board, and to thank him for his service as well.
Thank you very much, James. So, looking beyond ICANN60, before ICANN61, what do each of you think would be the top priorities for the GNSO? So, how about James, you start?
Thanks. So, one of the PDPs, the IGO Access to Curative Rights Mechanisms, is scheduled to issue its final report and final recommendations between the conclusion of this meeting and ICANN61 in Puerto Rico. And we suspect that those recommendations will, some of them I think are going to generate a lot of discussion in Puerto Rico. And I think that it's good to see that lengthy process, including work with several outside legal experts, is coming to a conclusion. And I think it's just further demonstrates that we can continue to work together to solve some of these very challenging, very complex problems.
Thank you. Donna?
So moving into January of next year, the Council will have what we believe is the first in the form of a strategic planning session. So we will be talking to the Council during the wrap-up session later this afternoon, just to scope out what those 3 days will look like. So Heather and I have done some preliminary work on the agenda and it's a strong focus on making sure that the Council understands what its roles and responsibilities are, and to do that as a Council and to have a common understanding. James has highlighted the challenges with the SSR2 this week, and some of the confusion is around process. So we want to make sure we're on the front foot in terms of the new bylaws, empower community, and what our roles and responsibilities are, and make sure that we understand that going in rather than having to make up a process on the fly in the event that something comes up. So the planning session will be largely around understanding our roles and responsibilities, and also developing a bit of a timeline for the next 12 months and what our priorities are and how we're going to tackle those as a Council.
Thank you. Heather?
Thanks, Ariel. I think the very first thing that we need to do is to continue and build upon the excellent foundation that James has laid in terms of really developing this notion of a leadership team within the GNSO Council. That's proved very effective over the time that we've worked together. It's been an honor and a privilege to work alongside James and Donna, and I think that's the most important task for Donna and myself immediately, is to welcome our new vice chair, who will fill my seat from the non-contracted parties house. That's Rafiq Damak from the non-commercial stakeholders group. So Donna and I have already begun working with Rafiq and our fabulous support staff to develop new working methods and ensure that we work coherently and consistently well together as a team for the benefit of Council as a whole. So I think that's our first objective.
Thank you very much for speaking with us today. So safe travels and see you in 2018.
Thanks, Ariel.
Thanks, Ariel.